So clearly sleep is important, but I'd never really given much thought about how to sleep better and more productively until I read Matthew Walker's fantastic book, Why We Sleep. And so in this episode of Book Club, we're going to talk through the key lessons from the book, Why We Sleep. And if you stick around till the end of the video, you will hear the 12 quick, evidence-based tips on how to sleep better that you can start applying to your life immediately. Let's go. Section 1, why we should sleep better. So before we talk about how to actually sleep productively, we need to be sold on why sleeping better is actually important. Firstly, one of the key points is that we all actually kind of need more sleep. There is apparently this epidemic of people not sleeping 8 hours a day. And there's all this stuff around, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I only need 6 hours of sleep every night to function perfectly fine. But as our friend Matthew talks about in the book, there is a ton of evidence allegedly that shows that if you chronically sleep for less than 8 hours a day, you are screwing yourself in various domains of life. Yes, apparently there are people who can sleep for less than 6 hours each night and function completely fine without any issues, but those are less than 1% of the population. And so if you think you're in that camp, I certainly am not. We are probably not in that 1%. Secondly, even if we do feel that we're all right when we get 6 hours or 7 hours of sleep, apparently the evidence shows that we are pretty bad at assessing our own performance and function while we're sleep deprived. And so we're sleep deprived, but we think, I'm totally fine. It's like when you're heartbroken, but you think, I'm totally fine, but you're actually not deep down. It's the same thing with sleep. So that's why we should sleep for 8 hours a day. But if we don't sleep for 8 hours a day, we can get all sorts of issues further down the line. For example, Matthew says in the book that routinely sleeping less than 6 or 7 hours a night demolishes your immune system, more than doubling your risk of cancer. And he talks about how sleep deprivation is associated with other very bad things, including general higher mortality, heart disease, weight gain, infection rate, and even Alzheimer's disease. Secondly, if we get less than 8 hours a day of sleep repeatedly, apparently that also reduces our performance, lowers our productivity, our social fluidity, our rational decision-making, memory recall, emotional control, and even our testosterone levels, lol. In fact, he says that after 10 days of just 7 hours of sleep, the brain is as dysfunctional as it would be after going without sleep for 24 hours. So imagine what it feels, how grim it feels to not sleep for 24 hours. Like that is what we're like if we sleep for seven hours, 10 days in a row. There's also a lot of evidence about how lack of sleep is associated with reduced creativity in various forms. And as an aside, I want to link in the video description to a blog post written by this chap called Alexi Guzzi, which actually apparently shows that Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, is riddled with scientific errors and inaccuracies and stuff. Interesting blog post. I'd suggest reading the book or reading a summary of the book and then reading the blog post. And then you can see what kind of issues he's taking with all the evidence in the book. But I mean, it's a bestseller. It's doing very well. I feel like my life is improved when I follow the advice in the book Why We Sleep. And so even if some of it might not be entirely legit according to this Alex Guzzi guy, I still think it's pretty much worth following. And if you're interested in finding out what Matthew says in the book, but you can't be bothered to actually read the book, or you've read the book and you want a quick summary, 100% I would recommend using Shortform, shortform.com. We've got an affiliate link in the video description. They're not sponsoring the video, but it's genuinely my favorite way of all time to read summaries of books. And so I read this properly once, and then when I need to revisit the issues from it or the points from it, I just read the short form summary, because the short form summary is really good. They have a fantastic one pager of basically the whole book in one page. And then they break down each chapter and just give you the core salient points. And it's also kind of cool because they cross-reference it with other books in the short form library. So you can see, Matthew Walker makes this point here, and that's similar to a point that Ryan Holiday makes in this book over here, or things like that, which is all kind of cool. If you like that kind of thing, hit the link in the video description. It's an affiliate link, so I get a little bit of a kickback, but no, they're not paying me to say this. They're not sponsoring this video. Genuinely, 100% solid recommendation. You should definitely check it out. Section 2, how can we sleep better? Let's now talk about the 12 practical things we can do right now to make ourselves sleep better immediately. Rule number 1, set a sleep schedule and try and sleep and wake up at the same time every day. Don't sleep procrastinate. This is something I do a lot. I'm trying to get better at it. And don't think that if it's a weekend, you should be able to sleep in, because that makes it even harder to wake up on a Monday morning. And if you have a job that you don't like, it makes Monday mornings even more grim. Secondly, don't use alarms if you can help it. Alarms apparently cause a huge stress response when we wake, and we can all relate to that feeling of the annoying iPhone alarm and the worst sound in the world. That apparently actually has a measurable increase in our stress levels. And even worse, if we snooze our alarms, we get that repeated stress trauma every single morning. Rule 3, wake up with the sun or use very bright lights. This helps set our circadian rhythm and helps tell our body clock, our internal body clock, that, it's the daytime, therefore I'm going to be awake. Rule 4, avoid all caffeine and nicotine completely if at all possible. But if you have to have caffeine, like I do, I cannot wake up in the morning without caffeine, then we should stop having it at least 10 hours before sleeping. And so I have a rule for myself that I'm not allowed to have caffeine after 2 p.m. because I know it's going to affect my sleep. Sometimes I still have it. Sometimes I still have a Diet Coke with caffeine in it in the evenings with a McDonald's drive-thru, and I always regret it afterwards because then I always struggle to get to sleep. Rule 5, exercise regularly, because exercising regularly helps with our sleep and is just generally good for us. But we generally want to avoid exercising within 3 hours of the time that we're going to go to bed. Rule 6, don't nap after 3 p.m. Naps are pretty good for us, but if we nap after 3 p.m., it makes it apparently harder to sleep properly at night. I'm not much of a napper myself, but it's something I'm going to start experimenting with in the near future, so we'll see how that goes. Rule 7, don't drink alcohol until it's completely metabolized by the time you sleep. Apparently, alcohol is one of the most powerful suppressors of REM, rapid eye movement sleep, which is like one of the important aspects of sleep. And if you have it any reasonable amount of time before bed, it's definitely going to affect your sleep. And there's a nice quote here where he says, "The politically incorrect advice I would, of course, never give is this. Go to the pub for a drink in the morning. That way, the alcohol will be out of your system before sleep." And then he's like, lol, I was kind of joking / not joking. But he says that nightly alcohol will disrupt your sleep, and the annoying advice of abstinence is the best and most honest I can offer. So basically what he's saying is, don't drink alcohol at all. I don't drink alcohol at all. I think it's great. It's plenty of health reasons for not drinking alcohol, one of which is that it's absolutely terrible for our sleep. Rule number 8, avoid large meals and drinks at night. If we eat a large meal before sleeping, it does make us feel slightly sleepier, but apparently it does affect the quality of our sleep. And so generally the advice is that the biggest meal of the day should be lunch, and then dinner should be a less like dense meal because, you know, if we want our sleep to be good, which means that sadly my McDonald's drive-thru takeaways at 12 o'clock midnight are probably not a good idea. Rule number 9, reduce light before sleep. Blue light in particular is the most harmful, and so what I've got is Philips Hue light bulbs around the living room, and I set all the lights to have this warm yellow glows to avoid the blue light at nighttime. I still don't do this fully properly because I still have like blue lights from like my devices and phone and stuff, and I use apps like Flux and Night Shift to help reduce the blue light, but even so, it's not completely ideal. And instead of using devices, he says that a relaxing activity such as reading or listening to music should be part of your bedtime ritual. Isn't that cute? Rule number 10, cool your body temperature before sleeping. The ideal temperature for sleeping is 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 18.3 degrees Celsius, which is actually pretty cold. And so these days when I sleep, I literally have a fan and the open window to try and get the temperature down to that 18 degrees number. And whenever I'm in a hotel or something, I always set the air conditioning like way down to 18 degrees. And it makes the room feel very cold. But then when you're in bed in like pajamas or scrubs like I sleep in with like a little blanket, it does feel very nice. And I like anecdotally, I find that my sleep is much better when I'm in a cold room than when I'm in a slightly warmer room. And if I'm in a really warm room, there's just no way I can sleep in those conditions. Rule number 11, don't rely on sleeping pills. Those are generally bad and they don't really help with our sleep. Instead, they put us into a state of sedation, which isn't the same as sleep. And so we don't get the benefits of sleep itself if we're using sleeping pills a lot. And finally, rule number 10 is don't lie in bed awake trying to fall asleep for more than 20 minutes. And this is something that I used to struggle with a lot before I started taking care of my sleep, or I'd be lying awake in bed for absolutely ages being like, oh, why am I not sleeping? And what he says in the book is that when we're in that mode of trying to talk ourselves into sleeping, that is actually increasing our stress and anxiety levels, which paradoxically makes it even harder to fall asleep. Instead, he says that if you're struggling to fall asleep and if you haven't been able to for more than 20 minutes, then just get up out of bed and do something, do an activity or something or other until you feel sleepy. The way I've interpreted this advice, which maybe isn't entirely legit, is I would just read in bed until I feel my eyes literally start to close, and then I will drop the Kindle onto the floor, take off my glasses, chuck them across the room, and then just hit the sack. And I've never found that to not be effective in sleeping, unless I've been reading a particularly fantastic book by like Brandon Sanderson or something, and it's been keeping me up until 4 o'clock in the morning because it's just that good. So that was an overview of Matthew Walker's book, While We Sleep. You should definitely check out the short form book summary along with these other books that they've got summaries of on short form. Those are really good, link in the video description. And if you want to hear my personal take on the book and how I incorporate the advice, check out this video over here, which says Why I'm Never Tired, which is a slightly clickbaity title, but it's actually kind of true, and people have been finding that video pretty helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.